Hey there, Red Devil Nation. Welcome back for another Alumni Spotlight. Today we are really honored to have class of 2019 Dickinson squash alum Alanis Perez. Alanis, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to do this.
Well, we're excited to have you and to share your story. So just before we talk about your playing career, tell us a little bit about who Alanis is, where you grew up, and how you got to Dickinson.
Okay, yeah. So I am from New Haven, Connecticut. My way to Dickinson, I feel like it was a long journey. Just because I definitely wanted to play squash in college, basically, is where it all started. But I started playing squash when I was in like fourth grade as an after school program. And then through that, it got me through high school and through college. And then because Canterbury was such a small high school, I was looking for a small college, and Dickinson just really fit everything. So I got to Dickinson by chance, but it worked out perfectly, really.
Yeah. And you said you picked up squash as an after-school program. It's one of those sports where either people know it or they don't know it.
Right.
How did you get into it? And then what really kept you engaged in the sport?
So, yeah, I said a little bit about it, but it was in like fourth grade. So I really played competitively for like 12 or 13 years. So Squash Haven, it was an after-school program. It was the first year that they were starting in New Haven when I joined. And it really was like, we went as a field trip and they were like, hey, we're starting this program, try out this weekend if you want. And I didn't really know if I wanted to play squash. I was like, what is this sport? I've never seen this before. And it turned out that my friend was sleeping over at my house that weekend, and she's like, I'm going to go try out for this after school program. You should come with me. And I was like, okay, sure, I'll try it out. And so I got into the program, and it was a completely different sport. I'd never heard about it, never done anything with it. But I started playing every other day after school at Yale University, where they would teach us, and then we would do academic help. They would help us with our academics. And I don't know, it just kind of took off from there, and here I am.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. And the fact that you got to play at Yale, obviously a school that has so much tradition in the squash world. What was that experience like to learn from the staff at Yale and did you learn from players? Did you learn from coaches? And just being able to be in that environment, did that help cultivate your passion for squash?
Yeah, I think at the time I didn't really know just the privilege that I had to be playing at that facility with 15 squash courts at Yale University. I really had no idea. But then as I got older, I realized that like I'm playing with the top players in the country, really, because it's one of the best programs, and I'm training with one of the best coaches, the best coaches that there are. So as I got older, I realized that, this is a great opportunity that I have, and I have to take advantage of every piece of it. And, it kept motivating me to this is the top, this is where you want to get to. And then that's what I kept working towards. And, I didn't play at Yale University, but I did get to play in college. So I ended up being really proud of where I ended up.
When you wanted to play in college, that kind of became one of your goals you said through high school.
Yeah.
How did you go about achieving that goal?
Okay.
Because also when you arrived at Dickinson, it was a very young, still is a young program compared to the other programs in the world, in the country. But, coming to a young program, what motivated you to want to come here versus maybe go to an established program?
So first of all, in high school, I did end up playing squash by high school. It was my main sport, obviously, and I would do cross country and I would do track to train and do all that I could. And I ended up wanting to go to Dickinson specifically, actually, because I knew it was a new program. And I saw it as a great opportunity to be a part of this team that we're growing and we're changing every year. And why not be part of a team that's going to make history? I knew that we were going to be something before I even got there. And I saw it as an opportunity to really be a part of a team that I knew was going to set the foundation for what the program was going to be in the future. So once I found out that Dickinson had this squash program and that Chris was recruiting people, it wasn't, I didn't even question it. I knew that Dickinson was where I was going to go.
When you first met Coach Saxby, what was that interaction like?
So I actually came to visit Dickinson over the summer with Squash Haven, that after school program that I had been a part of. And it was over the summer, and I remember campus just being so beautiful. It was empty. There weren't students, but I remember seeing just how much of a community feeling there was there. And then meeting Chris Saxby it was great too. Chris Saxby was like young. He was excited to be building this team. We were his first, I'm pretty sure we were his first class that he was recruiting. So it was just kind of like the perfect storm. Meeting someone that was just as excited as I was about an up and coming team, and seeing this campus and college that had so much potential. Everything really worked out. And I'm really happy that I went on that trip to visit Dickinson, just because once I saw it in person, it was that. Yeah.
What were the feelings when you first got into the squash courts here at Dickinson and you started playing with your teammates? What were the goals that you laid out for yourself as an individual?
So I wanted to make sure that I was able to balance both academics and sports. So that was something that I set as my goal right off the bat, just be the best that I can be in both environments. And getting on court for the first time with, I'm pretty sure there was like 6 freshman girls the year that I started at Dickinson on the squash team. So there was a lot of excitement. There was a lot of energy on the courts. It felt great, really, getting on court finally and starting practice and building up that energy that got us through the 4 years that I was there.
What was it like being part of that and bringing that culture and that mindset to want to achieve greatness and compete with some of these top programs in the country?
It was a really competitive environment in a good way. At least I want to be in an environment where people are constantly pushing each other to be the best person that you can be. I want to be in an environment where we're holding each other accountable, where we're expecting the best. And that's what it was. And that's what it was right off the bat. And having the opportunity to be captain junior and senior year, I learned that freshman and sophomore year, and I really made sure that those 2 years that I had this great opportunity to be a leader on the team, that I was enforcing that, and that's what the team really was working towards every day.
Mm-hmm. And squash is this unique sport where, most of your other fellow peers who are student athletes here, they go out, they're always playing a Division III team. You can walk out on the court and there's an opponent standing there in a U.S. Naval Academy uniform and a uniform of George Washington. What was it like playing multiple levels of competition from schools that are D3 to D1 athletics?
It was great. I think that we were lucky to be in I call squash a D1 sport, because in reality it's one division. There's a ladder. So it's great to have that opportunity to, be at Dickinson and it being such a small school. And yet, I'm pretty sure my junior year, I think we were top 20 in the country. So being able to say that, there was a lot of pride and seeing that we had that ability to keep climbing higher and higher. And there's really nothing stopping us from reaching the top. And being able to interact with people from different schools, and being able to travel too was awesome. You get to experience a lot. You get to learn about what it's like to be at schools that's not like ours, bigger schools, smaller schools. So it was a really cool experience, really.
And you said something there that's pretty cool. And just, having grown up myself around the squash community and played not at a high level as you, but just still playing with my brother and my dad. It's such a small knit community that everybody knows each other. And it's a sport too, where if you don't know it, you realize you're sitting with your opponent, maybe scoring one match before you guys go on the court, right? Or you play, and now you're going to sit together to score a match together. Just talk about those experiences and how that camaraderie is built, not just with your teammates, but with the opponent as well, where you're going to battle for 30 to 45 minutes on the court, but then you're also going to sit with each other for an hour and a half after and just enjoy each other's company and talk about the sport.
Growing up and playing in tournaments and whatnot, I've always loved being able to see my friend Sarah from Chicago that I haven't seen in a year. I'm going to see her at this tournament. That was such a great experience. And yeah, I might end up playing against someone that I'm friends with or someone that I may know, but I feel like that's what makes it even better, because you're playing against your friend. It's you get to show each other this competitive side that you don't really see often. You guys, you do your best on court, and then once it's done, you sit down and great match, and you move on. It's a part of the sport. That's what you're signing up for, and I really loved being able to meet people really from all over the world through that.
Yeah, and then that's another unique part is you played with people from all over the world. I mean, you just have to walk into the squash courts here to see the flags of all these different countries. What was that experience like when, when an American gets to play with an Egyptian or vice versa, or you get to play with
Yeah.
someone from Australia or New Zealand? You get to play with so many different people that you really kind of get this unique abroad experience without ever really going abroad.
Yeah, it's exactly. There's so much diversity in a team of 20. It's really great. You get to learn about where people come from, what it's like, how big of a sport is squash in Egypt compared to the U.S. or compared to New Zealand. It was pretty cool just being able to see how everyone basically got to Dickinson, but through all these different paths from all over the world. I think that's something that squash, it's a unique trait that it has that I don't think a lot of programs really have that, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it is really cool because when you look at it, there's just so much pride. You guys are playing for so many different things. What were the lessons, though, that you learned playing squash and just being able to connect with so many different people that have served you after graduation, maybe in your professional life and also in your personal life?
Some of the lessons that I learned was to just value input from different people, just because you realize and learn that people walk different paths. They have walked different paths in their lives and that have experienced different things. And so, working with people who are just so different has taught me to keep an open mind and just kind of accept people for who they are. And that's something that's served me in the classroom and at work, in my athletics. Just be open-minded and know that there are so many different people that you're going to interact with in your life. And it's so important to honor and recognize that you're interacting with such a diverse group of people. And that's definitely something that I learned, again, with how diverse squash was, that I got to have that. I had that opportunity.
What did you know coming into Dickinson what you wanted to do? And if not, how did you go about finding that passion and eventually figuring out what path you wanted to take upon graduation?
I kind of had an idea. In high school, I really liked biology. And then in senior year of high school, there was the class was like a women and genders intro kind of course. And I kind of liked both of them. So I had an idea coming in what I wanted to do. Definitely biology for sure. So freshman year, I actually declared, I think it was like second semester freshman year. So I knew right away I wanted to be something, I wanted to do biology. And then I actually got lucky to, in second semester freshman year, I took Introduction to Sexuality Studies, and I ended up loving that as well. So I paired both of them. I majored in bio and minored in sexuality studies, and I kind of ran with it the whole time that I was here. And I did know that I wanted to go into medicine, and so I'm still working my way there. It's going to take a while, but with biology and the sexuality studies, I kind of see myself hopefully one day doing something with like women's health, sexual health, just because it combines both of them perfectly. So.
Yeah. I think that's one of the very special things about Dickinson is that you can find these passions in multiple fields, but that liberal arts education allows you to fuse them together and to find a route to go that you get to follow both of them. What do you think the value is in a liberal arts education?
Everyone and anyone that can have a liberal arts education, it's the best gift that you can really have. You have to, I feel like in the real world and being an adult, you have to be able to be flexible and kind of combine all your knowledge into whatever you're trying to do. So having a liberal arts education was probably one of the best things that I can do. I was able to follow and, keep learning and exploring my interests, but also realize that because I'm learning so many different things, I'm able to use that knowledge later in the future in so many different ways. So liberal arts is the way to go. I will say that until the day I die.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I agree 100%. And, going off of that, how has that liberal arts education helped you now? Before the interview, we were talking, you're working at Penn now. How has that liberal arts education and those classes and the lessons you learned from the professors here apply to you now at the University of Pennsylvania?
Oh, it applies directly at Dickinson. So like I said, I was a major in biology. And then I want to say either the end of sophomore year or I know definitely junior and senior year, I actually did student faculty research with Professor Niblock. And so, through my classes and through that research experience, I was able to refine, first of all, gain knowledge in what it means. What is research? What are the things I'm going to be doing in a lab, really? And then doing research itself with Professor Niblock, I was able to learn about the environment. So it's directly applied to what I'm doing in the lab now at Penn, where I am, working at the bench or I'm working with animals and I'm interacting with multiple people in my lab. Everything that I learned is helping me to this day, and more than just my technical skills and knowledge in science, just having that knowledge, again, the liberal arts knowledge of what it means to be intersectional in the way that I go about things. It's helping me not just in the lab, but as a scribe too. It's helping me in many ways and infinite ways, really. So.
When you look back on your time here at Dickinson, what gives you so much pride in being an alum from Dickinson College?
I'm really proud to be a Dickinson alum. Just knowing that, Dickinson wasn't just a school for me. It was kind of like this is going to sound really corny. It was a big family, especially when I think about the friends and when I think about the squash team. That gives me a lot of pride, knowing that, I might not be there now, but my legacy is still, I'm not there anymore, but the people that I knew are still there, and they're still working towards that goal that I had when I was there. So that goal, that dream, whatever we were working towards, it's still happening. So I have pride knowing that that's still happening and that I'm continuing that outside of the campus.
When you look also back on your time here, and still, what gives you pride in being a Dickinson Red Devil and having put on that Dickinson uniform every time you got to step on the squash court?
It was knowing that I wasn't, as squash was kind of an individual sport, but it was knowing that I wasn't just playing for myself. I was playing for my teammates. I was playing to represent Dickinson. It was knowing that there are tons of people behind me encouraging me the whole way through, and just cheering me on. And that gave me a lot of pride, just knowing that there were people. I wasn't playing for myself. I was playing for everyone else. Mm-hmm. That was a fire underneath my feet when I was playing on the court. Just, this isn't for me. This is for, this is for my teammate that's out on the other side of that glass wall that's cheering me on.
Yeah. And now looking at it now as an alum, why do you feel like it's important to give back to these current student athletes, and in particular the squash athletes who are now here on the same court that you were once on?
It's important to give back just because you want to make sure that everyone else has had the opportunity, the same experience that you had. So that's really why I try my best to keep in touch and give back to Dickinson. I had a great time, and I want to make sure that people who are there in 10 years, that they're still having a great time and they're enjoying it and loving Dickinson even after I've been gone for 10 years. So yeah, you want things to keep going if you've loved it. You don't want it to end.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the last question for you, when Chris Fernandez and the squash program get to return to competition, what is your prediction for the squash program?
We're going to kill it. I know that the girls that were there when I left, they're super excited to get back, and they're ready to just absolutely destroy the courts when they get back on. So I'm fully confident in that.
Well, Alanis, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight to talk about your journey, your experience with both squash and Dickinson College, and share what you're doing now. We cannot wait to share this with the Dickinson community.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Stay safe, and we hope to see you back on campus when we're open, playing squash and having visitors.
Yeah, I hope to be back soon too.
Well, good, and we can't wait to see you.
Great.
Have a great night.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.